Welcome to the Globetrottin ADs. This podcast is for you, athletic directors, activity coordinators, coaches, and program associates based in international schools around the world. The Globetrottin ADs is proudly hosted by Nick DeForest from the American International School Vienna and Matt Fleming from the American International School of Budapest. Here they are now, Nick and Matt and the Globetrottin ADs.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Globetrottin ADs. This week, we're very excited. We have a special guest with us, joining us from the USA, another North American guest. This is Bruce Whitehead joining us from Indiana. Bruce is the former executive director of the National Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association. And we're really happy to have Bruce on to give us some insight about involvement with the international schools, athletic directors, the ad hoc committee that takes place at the NIAAA, as well as upcoming news about the NIAAA National Conference, which typically takes place in December of each year. So I just want to welcome Bruce, and I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, Nick DeForest.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And obviously, thanks, Bruce. Really great to have you on. It'll be a shame not to see you in person in December. Can you tell everybody that doesn't know who you are or hasn't been to a conference and got to meet you a little bit about yourself and what you're doing?
Well, I was in the NA school district for 33 years in central Indiana and was the athletic director for 25. And then I left there and went to work for the NIAAA. In 2001, was fortunate enough to become the executive director in the fall of 2004. And then I retired in 2016 as the executive director of the NIAAA. And I hadn't been retired a month, and Indiana Athletic Directors Association called me and said, "We need some help. Would you consider helping us?" So since that time, I've been working as a consultant. They call me the executive director. I just call myself a consultant with the Indiana Athletic Directors Association. And then I've been working with the International Ad-Hoc Committee for the NIAAA to try and address some things and provide some things for the International School Athletic Directors. And that's really been, it's been fun. We started with that, as Matt well knows. Before I retired, we started with some work with International School Athletic Directors. Matt was one of the 4 people that we started to work with initially. And so it's been fun to continue to work with that group and to expand on what the NIAAA is trying to do for the International School Athletic Directors.
Well, perfect. And that's why you're the perfect guest for us. And I think we have to apologize. We should have had you on last year. But, COVID got to us and things got out of our control, I'd say. But you missed 2 things that I want to mention in your kind of bio and maybe ask you about before we get into the meat of the conversation. The first one is you're a Hall of Famer. You got inducted in the NIAAA Hall of Fame in 2018. What can you say about that?
Well, I sometimes say even a blind squirrel finds a nut sometimes. But I feel very fortunate and honored that the Hall of Fame committee would decide to select me as a member of the Hall of Fame, and I feel very honored and privileged to be a part of that.
Awesome. They had to wait for you to get out of office, I guess, for that honor, which is why it took so long.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I suppose it probably wouldn't look very good politically if the
Right.
executive director of the organization was inducted into that organization's Hall of Fame. So, yes, I think you're probably right there, Nick.
Yeah. So Mike has to, wait a few more years or turn in his papers now to get the next honor, right?
That's right.
I wanted to ask also about the Distinguished Service Award. Is the Bruce Whitehead Distinguished Service Award?
Yes, that was quite unexpected. When Mike called me and said the board wants to name the DSA after you or put your name on it, I said, I think those things should be reserved for people that really do a lot for the association and are really at the top of their profession. And I'm not sure I fit that bill. And he said, well, the board's going to do it whether you give your blessing or not. So again, very honored, deeply honored that the board would choose to do that. And I guess one of the most exciting things for me as being from Indiana is last year was the first year and we had a winner. One of the selections was from Indiana. So that was really special.
Nice. Oh, very deserving. And that as a true servant leader, you would someone would never want the award named after them, right? They would always think there's someone else. So,
well, we don't do what we do. We don't do what we do for internal recognition or recognition back on us. We do what we do for the kids that we serve, for the coaches we serve, and for lifting up others in our profession. That's why we do what we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And that's always been the biggest draw. That's what really got me interested in the NIAAA from taking those first courses. And I mentioned before, but having Don Bales is one of our first instructors, and really hitting that home that the job is about servant leadership and putting people ahead of you to make sure the program runs well and the kids are getting a quality experience. So that's great that they've organized that and they've made this award in your honor. But I just talking a little bit more about your tenure as the executive. I don't know the recent numbers, but I think the NIAAA is now up to over 10,000 members or so worldwide.
Worldwide, the NIAAA is between 12 and 13,000.
Oh wow, okay, so I'm a little off.
Yeah,
but yeah. I was hoping maybe you could, for the listeners, you could maybe highlight some of those, maybe some benchmarks of growth that the NIAAA has really taken off with in that time when you were, taking over as the executive, then through that time, and then handing it over to Mike Blackburn, Dr. Blackburn. What's kind of been some of those highlights?
Well, I think one of the things early, of course, the NIAAA was founded in 1977, and the organization instituted some programs, the awards program, and we started the CAA level of certification back in '88, and we started leadership training. Believe it or not, our first course was taught in 1997. And now we've got over 50 courses, 4 of those being international. So in 23 years, we've gone from 1 course to 52. And then when I came on board as executive director in the fall of '04 or the January of '05 officially, our membership was about 52 or 300. And we just were kind of in a plateau area. And part of that, I think, was because at that time, the NIAAA didn't have its own office. The NIAAA was officing in the National Federation building in downtown Indianapolis. And one of the things that Mike and I felt we needed to do was to get our own office. And they were very gracious to us. The National Federation didn't charge us office space. At that time, we had 3.5 employees, and they gave us about 1,000 square foot in the basement of their building. And within a couple of years, sorry about my chime clock.
It's okay.
But within a couple of years, we saw where we knew we needed to add staff. They were growing and needed to add staff, and we knew that building wasn't big enough. So we decided, our board, we recommended our board that we start perhaps looking for office space of our own, and we did so. And our board made the decision in February of '07 to move our office to our own space. And I think what that did is it gave us our own identity. We now had our own address, and it wasn't the address of the National Federation. It allowed us to grow. From that time, we went to 4 and then 5 employees, and now Mike has 7 employees. Yeah, 8 employees. He has 8 employees, total counting he and Phil. So it allowed us to grow and expand. It allowed us to have our own identity. then we just made a commitment to expand programs to serve our members. And I think when you do that, athletic directors, want to have an organization that's serving them, providing for their needs. And I think that's one of the things that we did. And I think that's the biggest reason, Matt, for our growth and enhancement in terms of number of members.
Yeah, it's more than doubled. So
yeah.
And I think a lot of that probably was word of mouth, right? ADs are in contact with each other and they spread the good word, and it gets out there that, yay, there's something for us out there that we can tap into and gain from. And, I think it's just that movement and that effort you guys put in has spread probably a little further than you expected once you got involved with international folks like us. I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think so. But and I was trying to think, Matt, when was the first time you and Chris and Jim and Jay, you guys came to Indianapolis? Was that like 2013, maybe?
I think it was about 2013. We first had met Don, and there was another guy who came with him. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, but they came over. They actually came to Budapest to teach some courses, and that was in the spring of 2011. And that was kind of our first exposure. We had one guy in our CISA group who had taken some NIAAA courses and knew about it and spoke highly of it. And so we thought, well, let's go for it. Let's see what happens. And it'll be because we knew about the certification process and the steps you needed to take to get those. I think that's kind of what really brought interest to us and got more people involved. And then from there, of course, we started meeting with you guys in Indianapolis, around 2013. Yeah.
Now, before we started meeting with you guys, we had the NIAAA had reached out beyond the borders of the states in 2008. We reached out to Canada. John Patton, who is in Alberta, John had expressed an interest in getting some things started in Canada. So he reached out to us, and I remember going to Canada in the spring of 2009 to teach 501 and 502 in Alberta. And that was our first effort. And that worked so well because from there, Canada has written their own curriculum now for Canadian ADs. They have a national organization, the CIAAA. And so that worked so well that I think when you and Chris, you guys approached us, we said, hey, let's go for it and see what we can do beyond Canada.
Yeah, because at the time, I think we were thinking, well, we could do our own NIAAA version. And we tried, but I think the logistics of it all was it was a little overbearing for us as full-time ADs.
Yeah, and just to me, the number of and the amount of support there is in the U.S. I'm Canadian. My school growing up never had an AD, so that was all kind of foreign to me, and being international, like a lot of people that aren't American, don't have that background. So for me to go to the national conference and see how many ADs there are out there, and hear the numbers 12 to 13,000, it's just crazy to me, because there might be 200 international ADs around the world outside of the US, maybe a bit more, not many, but just the amount of ADs is staggering. So, the infrastructure and the need for PD and the networking is just so great. So I totally see how it took off and expanded, like you said, as you got offices and support, and because there has always been the need for it, right? Now people can get it.
You're exactly right. And I'm firmly convinced in 10 years, the professional development among international ADs will be 10 times what it is now with international certifications available now and the 4 international courses we have now that I don't think will be the last 4 written.
Right.
So, yeah, I just think it's so critical.
Yeah. So kind of along those lines of your work with international school ADs, when we were talking about when we first got started and got got familiar with each other. What were your initial impressions of internet, the whole concept of international schools itself, and then working with and understanding international school ADs and how we kind of function? So what were your first thoughts, I guess, when you got mixed up with us?
We're recording, Bruce. We're recording.
Well, the four of you that came into the office, my initial reaction to the four of you were that of your commitment to trying to make the International School Athletic Director's position more prominent, and to try and to do some professional development and outreach, because it took a lot of commitment for you guys to come in 2 or 3 summers in a row that you did. And I was impressed with that, with your commitment and your dedication, because we have some of those in the States too, but we also have some that aren't that committed and dedicated. And for you guys to be willing to give up your time to try and, to use your term, servant leadership, to improve the lot for your fellow international athletic directors, that was one thing. Second thing, I didn't realize there were so many international schools. I thought there were maybe 200 or 300 international schools around the world, and then you guys made us aware of how many international schools there were, and so many of them having athletic directors that needed professional development. And I guess my third impression, and I've said this to stateside ADs many times, I haven't so much since I retired, but before I retired, when a stateside AD would say, "Oh man, this is really difficult. I've got this, and this," and I said, "You don't know what difficulty is until you've been an athletic director in an international school." I said, "You're worried about the bus getting home at 2 a.m. You don't have to worry about passports and air travel and crossing country borders and going through customs." I said, until you've been an athletic director in an international school, don't talk about how difficult your job is. That was the other thing that I was just totally blown away with the enormity of the things that you have to do with travel and hosting tournaments, and so many of those issues that stateside ADs have, but on a much more limited scale.
Sure. Well, I don't know about you, Matt, but I'm used to those now, right? Because just not saying that they're easy. It's easy, but you're used to it, right? But when I think of a US AD, and I hear guys talk about, 10,000 people at a football game on a Friday night, and crowd control and tickets and all that makes me, my head explode for sure. So I think neither of us maybe want to be in each other's shoes. Maybe we're all happy where we are.
We're just right where we belong.
The learning curve would be steep for a stateside AD going international, or vice versa.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That definitely will be a topic on a future show, right? With Joe Ito, who's probably listening, who started
Joe's
international.
Hadn't he?
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we mentioned the conference a little bit. That was, big, if not unexpected news a week or so ago. What do you think about that? What's your thoughts about the conference going virtual?
Disappointment, first of all, that those 2,000 or 2,500 people that come every year won't be able to see each other and network face to face. But I also look at it as an opportunity, especially for our international friends and colleagues. They just set the conference registration fee at $165, which will include 2 keynote speakers, I think 6 different workshop opportunities, and most of the things that you have at the conference in terms of sessions will take place. Obviously, meal functions won't, but general sessions, workshop sessions, other networking sessions will still all take place this year. And I look at it as an opportunity because, for the International Athletic Director to come to the conference, it's much more challenging for stateside because you got airfare, which may be much more expensive. You got hotel. And this year, for $165, they'll be able to participate in the conference. Now, the downside of that is if you're in Southeast Asia, it's probably going to be the middle of the night.
Right.
Yeah.
So you may have, if you want to participate, you may have to adjust your sleep schedule there for 3 or 4 days.
Yep.
But it will take place over 4 days. The one thing that will be different this year is all the courses will be taught 4 days prior to the start of the conference.
Okay.
In other words, the leadership training classes are going to take place, I think it's, pardon my turning around, December 7, 8, 9, and 10. And we will teach the international courses, one each day.
Yep.
Oh, perfect.
They're going to teach most of the stateside courses, the 5, 6, and 700s. They're going to teach them at 9 in the morning. And we're going to try and adjust. No, they're going to teach them at 1 in the afternoon. I'm sorry. And I've suggested we adjust those to teaching them at like 9 in the morning,
Right.
the international. So they will be taught on those 4 days, but they will be taught in a different time slot than the other courses.
Right.
Okay.
Perfect.
Good.
And then the conference will start Saturday, the 11, 12, 13, and 14. We'll have the opening general session with the keynote speaker. The scholarships will be presented, and then we'll have workshops, networking opportunities, and the closing session will be sometime on Tuesday. Closing speaker, this closing keynote speaker. How many will attend? I have no idea. I hope it's 4,000 or 5,000.
Right.
But and one of the struggles the staff has had is finding a platform provider
Right.
that could host 4,000 or 5,000 people.
No idea how that would work because Nick and I did our Globetrottin ADs conference back in the spring. We did one in the summer, but that was all through Zoom. So I'm not sure if Zoom could handle those numbers or how would that work. So do you have any idea of what they've been actually looking at? Or
Yeah, I don't know the name. They looked at 4 or 5. Zoom could not handle those numbers. They looked at 4 or 5 platforms, and I think they have selected a platform, but I do not know the name of the platform they have selected. It's probably going to be a significant expense to do what they want to do with this platform in the tens of thousands of dollars.
Sure.
Will be the expense to use that platform for 4 or 5. Now, they're going to use the Zoom platform to teach the courses.
Okay.
Because they're limited in numbers.
Yep.
But once they get to the conference on Saturday, then they will move to this platform that they have selected.
And internationally, that would have been the time when the test would come out for anyone who's done the 5 core classes. Will that still be an option for a virtual test?
Yes, it will be.
It will be. Great.
And that's part of my email going out to all the international people in the system. There will be an exam given on Tuesday, the last day of the conference. And again, I don't know the exact time. There'll be both a CAA and a CIA exam given.
Okay.
So anybody who has completed the personal data form and got the 65 points and has the 5 classes will be able to take that exam online from their home or their office at no additional cost.
Oh, wow.
Other than you must register for the conference.
Right. Yeah.
But outside of the conference registration and the cost of the CIAA certification level, there will be no additional cost to take it online. And what will happen is, I say the exam will be given on Tuesday, but there will be a 5-day window, and I think it starts Tuesday.
Okay.
Everybody that qualifies will be given a code, and there'll be a 5-day window from Tuesday, I think, through Saturday when they will be able to go in and take the exam and complete the exam. So they won't have to do it on that day.
Okay.
They're given a window.
And
Very good.
this would be a question for Chris Mott, I'm sure would like to ask. If you fail the test on the first day, can you then write the test another day in the 5-day window?
That's a good question. You can take the test again at no additional cost. That's a good question.
Okay. I'm sure Chris will want to know. Well, maybe other people, but I know he.
Well, that's a good question. That's a good question that I need to pose to Cheryl is, can you take it again in that window? I think probably.
Mastery learning approach.
Well, that's a good question. I think it would be a matter of once she verifies that you haven't passed, she could send you another code.
Right. Do it again.
I mean, I would think it would work that way, but I'll have to ask her.
She might not like that. Listen to our conversation right now. Might be some more work for her, but.
Well, no, not any more work than. I mean, I think Cheryl would rather, if someone failed the exam, to have them retake it as quickly as possible, because she has to keep track of that, and the longer it goes, the longer she. I know when I was still working, we'd have someone that would fail the exam, and a year later they still hadn't retaken it, and she's trying to make sure she knows they're in the system as a failure, and so yeah, I would think she would be open to that.
But jokes aside, that is really a big step for the international side. That CIAA will happen, and the test is approved. And you said the courses will be offered during the conference, but there's also some coming up. So whoever's listening, 901 was just a few days ago on the 21st.
Right. 902 next Monday.
Right. 903 October 5th and 904 October 12th. And all the info's on the NIAAA website, but I'm looking forward to teach 904 again.
901 will be available online starting October 1.
Oh, there's some breaking
no, I'm
news.
sorry. 902 will be available online.
Okay.
902 will be available online, with 901 to follow shortly after that.
Okay.
And then 903 and 4, they had hoped to have them ready online before the conference, but COVID kind of threw a monkey wrench into so they're shooting for 903 and 4 early in 2021.
Okay.
Online. So all 4 will be online.
Great.
But 902 is there right now.
Oh, wow. Oh, very good. Very cool.
Or will be October 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Bruce, I don't know if you know or not, but one of the funnest parts of going to the conference as well is the vendor fair and the exhibition hall they have set up where you can browse all the different products they have available for school sport programs and meet all those folks. How's it going to work for vendors since they're not going to have that chance to actually be anywhere in person to sell their products or advertise or network with athletic directors?
Yeah, Matt, that question is I cannot answer. I've not talked to Phil and Mike about that. I know they're trying to come up with some plan, but I don't think they're far enough along at this point to be able to advertise what that plan will be. I know one of our states had a virtual conference, and they offered their vendors, obviously you can't see the products, you can't feel the products, but they offered their vendors an opportunity to promote, during the virtual conference, promote their product. Mm-hmm. And so I assume Mike and Phil are working to that end, that maybe if a vendor would want to, they could somehow, I know one of the things that they could do is do a short video. Mm-hmm. If a vendor would send them a short video,
yep,
they can incorporate it into the virtual conference by playing that video at various times.
Sure, yeah, before a session or, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like the vendors are going to have a unique opportunity to come up with new marketing strategies and ideas
Yeah.
for their audience, I guess, because it's going to have to be in a whole new different way. For example, last year, we one of the fun things we got to do, the Drenco scoreboard company had a home run hitting contest. That was a lot of fun. We did that, and so you're not going to have that opportunity to do something in person, or the other fun things like the cornhole tournament. So hopefully the vendors will come up with something fun like that, at least to make it light and still interactive in some capacity. we're not going to be there in person, but we'll see what happens.
I haven't done it yet, but you just said that, Matt. I'm thinking I need to Google an online cornhole game, and maybe we can, you can set up a virtual tournament where you log in and play cornhole with a click of your mouse.
Yeah, who knows?
That might be the international's chance.
Yeah, so somebody in the backyard.
That's right, exactly.
Well, you mentioned we have all mentioned the International Committee, and the work obviously developing those courses and the test. I would definitely like to give a shout out to the people on the committee. Then, if there is anyone around the world that wants to ask questions, maybe to someone that they know personally, they're there to reach out for. And that's Chris Mott, who's in Bangkok now. Chris Bishop is in The Hague. Juan Santa Maria is in Honduras. Jason Cuthbert is in Poland, in Warsaw. Scott Hibbard in Dubai. Jim Matter is in Montana, formerly Warsaw. And Catherine Tango Ong is in Brent in the Philippines. And obviously Matt and myself, where I think everybody knows where we are, Matt. But what's next for the International Committee, Bruce? What do you envision for us?
Of course, when we put the committee together, we tried to get some geographical diversity. And we were in pretty good shape until Mr. Mott decided to go from Lima, Peru to Bangkok. So now we don't really have any geographical diversity from South America. And the beauty or the non-beauty, how you look at it, of the committee structure of the NIAAA, they have ad hoc committees, which are supposed to be temporary committees to get a program started, and then they have permanent committees. And a lot of times an ad hoc committee will move from its ad hoc status to a permanent status as a permanent committee of the organization. We have not moved the International Committee that direction yet for a couple of reasons. One is once a committee becomes permanent, then the members of the committee are limited to a maximum of 6 years on the committee. Then they must rotate off. And we felt that the International Committee, we wanted some longevity and stability on that committee initially until we felt we had the international program in a good place. And not that it's not in a good place now, I think it is, but I think it can even be in a better place. And I think eventually this committee will roll into a permanent committee. But right now, those 9 members you mentioned are able to stay there. I would like to add someone from South America to the committee. And I think Mike and Phil and the board would be receptive to doing that now that Chris is not there. And perhaps even add someone from Africa. Those are the 2 areas right now that lacks committee representation. And then I would envision in another 2 or 3 years, that committee might move to a permanent status. The committee has been so valuable. Obviously, the initial, at least 2 or 3 of the initial courses, Matt and Chris and Jim were instrumental in putting them together. You were instrumental in putting 904 together. And then the whole committee, obviously, the initial course, putting the thoughts together, and then the whole committee worked very diligently there for 2 or 3 years to get these courses in a format that would be presentable and meet the standards of the NIAAA, which is where we are now. The 2 certification levels, as of December, both should be up and going. And that's been a great work of the committee. It's been a lot of, when you only meet once a year, you have to make those meeting times count. And I would give the committee credit because up until last year, we were meeting on an 8-hour day up front of the conference after you'd flown probably all day, some of you to get here the day before. And it was amazing that you could stay awake for 8 hours, all of you. Now, I had a 2-hour flight the day before, and some of you had, Kathy had what, 16 hours or 18 hours?
Pretty serious travel.
Yeah. So, but the committee has really worked hard, and I'd like to commend those 9 members of the committee. in everything they've done to get us to the point where we are now. But again, I think we've identified another couple of potential courses that we could add to the 4 already.
Mm-hmm.
A current issues course being the first one at the top of the list. And we may have already started developing that course had not COVID struck us. But I think in 2021, we can look in that direction. I've had one of the other things that we started a few years ago was an international section meeting, which is separate from the committee meeting. It's a meeting of any person at the conference who is in an international school and just wants to come and hear what's going on and provide some input. And I've been excited because that meeting has grown over the last 3 to 4 years to where last year we had over 40 in that meeting.
Right. Yeah, you can really see the international people at the conference by the attendance of that meeting, right? And it's definitely grown in the 3 years I've been.
And we intend to have an international section meeting this year as well.
Great.
Time and date, it'll be on Saturday, whatever that Saturday is, time to be determined again, but we will be meeting as an international section to kind of provide updates and get some feedback. And so I'm looking forward to that. And I think that's been a welcome positive. I think the biggest challenge that we face that I look at from where I sit here in my office is communication, getting the word out to all of your colleagues around the globe that may have never heard of the NIAAA. And I'm sure there's many that have never heard of the NIAAA.
Yep.
There are some that have heard of the NIAAA but aren't aware of the 4 courses or the certification levels.
Right.
And I think that's one of the challenges that I need to address and the committee needs to address. And I want to talk about in our committee meeting this December, our virtual committee meeting, is let's develop a plan for marketing, for getting the word out.
Yep.
Because I don't think it's any different for the international athletic director than it was for a stateside AD. Once the NIAAA could get the word out of here's what's available.
Right.
You know, you talk about why did the membership grow? That's why, because we were able to get the word out and let them know what was available for them in terms of professional development. Yeah. I think the international scene's the same.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's something, Matt and I with our Globetrottin AD project, we've shared our great experience with the NIAAA, every step of the way, and we'll continue to do so. So we see ourselves as being an outreach, maybe so to speak, program for that to try to promote and bring people on board on that NIAAA level.
And the efforts are bearing fruit. Our international membership has increased every year for the last 3 or 4 years. And I think it can increase even more rapidly if we can continue to get the word out.
Coach Evaluator is the premier coach evaluation software for schools and athletic organizations and preferred coach evaluation solution of the NIAAA and the Positive Coaching Alliance. The system is completely customizable with an always growing evaluation template library for athletic directors to reference. There are not only evaluations for ADs to use, but also self-evaluations and parent-player evaluations of coaches. Learn more about digitizing and simplifying your coach evaluation process by visiting www.coachevaluator.com. Mention Globetrottin ADs to receive a $200 discount on the yearly rate.
Kukri are a global multi-sport clothing brand specializing in providing the world's most prestigious schools with bespoke-made and designed team uniforms for students of all standards and abilities. If you are frustrated by inconsistent colors, branding, costs, and sizing across your school's uniforms, then it's time to discuss an offering where every sport is available from softball to soccer for male and female athletes at rates to suit your budget. To find out how Kukri could elevate the apparel of your student athletes to a professional level, email the team at contact@cookerysports.com. A dedicated sales manager will offer you a quote today. Mention this ad and receive a special offer on your coach or PE staff order. Well, Bruce, we've been talking a lot of plans and future plans and history and where this, great partnership, let's say International NIAAA has started from. But I want to ask you about your kind of long history as an AD, as a leader. Not to say legacy, but what's something you're most proud of? Either as your time as an AD or even as the executive director. What stands out to you? I put you on the spot here. You didn't know we were going to ask. I know.
I think as an athletic director, one of the things I was most proud of was we were able to provide more opportunities and improved opportunities, participation opportunities for kids. I'm a dinosaur. I started out stateside. I started out in 1976 in the middle of, and again, for those international ADs who were in the States at one time, Title IX. When I became the athletic director in that high school, Crawfordsville had 3 sports for women and 9 sports for men. And when I left 25 years later, we had 10 sports for women and 10 sports for men. And to me, that was the biggest thing, is we provided more opportunities for kids to participate. I'm so old-fashioned that I believe that students who participate in activities in the school setting have a better quality of life, are much more rounded, and make better leaders than students who just go to school 8 to 3 and then go home. So that was one of the things I was really pleased with, that we were able to expand our opportunities for students in Crawfordsville High School at that time. And I think the same, I would say the same at the NIAAA level. One of the things I'm most proud of is that we have provided more opportunities for athletic administrators to improve themselves as an athletic administrator. We've provided more professional development opportunities and just more programs that they can take advantage of to make themselves a better athletic director or administrator, which in turn makes their program better for their student athletes and their coaches. I just think that's what we're all about, helping each other. I started out coaching, and as a coach, I never wanted to share what I did with any other coach. Never. Because I was afraid they would take what I gave them and use it to beat me. Then I became an athletic administrator, and I quickly learned through a couple of mentors that I had that athletic administrators share everything, because our goal is to help not only our program become better, but to help all of our fellow colleagues' programs become better. And I think that's just what we're all about.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, it's a great transition too, because it's and that little light bulb goes off to say, hey, this is more about than me. It's more about the profession and sharing and helping everybody to come along. So that's great.
And I think, just to dovetail a little bit on that, when Mike and I came aboard as the administrators of the NIAAA, one of the things that we felt very strongly about is we had a board of directors, but the board of directors really wasn't empowered. They really, the board would come in and meet, and the staff would say, well, here's what we think we need to do. And the board would say, okay, let's go ahead. And one of the things Mike and I felt I'd say we felt very strongly about was we need to empower the board of directors. The change needs to come from them, not from us, through them. And we worked very hard at that in the early years. We had some board members that initially early on probably were there because it was good to have it on their resume. And we tried to make clear to them very early on, if you think you're going to be on this board just to have it on your resume, no, we want you to be active, involved. We want the programs and the decisions to come from you.
Right.
And then our job as a staff is to implement what you tell us to implement, not for us to tell you what needs to be implemented.
Yeah.
And I think that had a lot to do with the growth of the NIAAA.
Yeah, for sure. And I've been fortunate enough to actually see that in action when I've been in Indianapolis during those summer meetings and see how committed those folks are. It's a great working bunch. They work well together. They have fun together, but they really put the mission of the organization first, and in terms of service and helping folks be the best they can be as an athletic administrator. So
yeah,
it's been great to see and been great to be a part of for sure as well. Not just on the outside, but also on the inside.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, Bruce. This has been a great chance to meet up again and have a chat and catch up and learn what's going on with the NIAAA, with the international organization, and of course the upcoming NADC, which will be, of course, a virtual experience, but we hope for the best and that we'll have a good attendance from everybody, not only in the U.S., but from the international scene, and that it'll be a success, no doubt, once again, with everybody pitching in and the leadership that the NIAAA provides.
Well, I look forward to it. It's the best that we can do at this point in time, but we'll make the best of it. And I'm sure it will be a well-attended conference, and I'm sure everybody will get something out of it. And to all your international colleagues, if you haven't gotten an email from me in the next 10 days or so, then contact Nick or Matt, because they're going to have the email and they can send it to you.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks a lot, Bruce. Thanks for continuing to show us the way. So.
Well, thank you, guys. I enjoy working with you, and I look forward to maybe working with you a little while longer.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Until next week, this has been another episode of the Globetrottin ADs.